Larry Fink has described how Bitcoin could reach $500,000 to $700,000. I want to play that clip for you, explain why this would be so massive for Blackrock. This has already blown away everyone's expectations, and they keep on acquiring faster and faster. Yesterday they had a very big day. It was actually the second largest inflow for all the ETFs put together since inception. And I want to play that for you, explain how crazy this is and how much money they can make. This could actually be, if I'm reading this right, this could be a fifth of their business, basically, of their ETF business, just in this one fund, which they have 460 ETFs. They can make 20% of their ETF revenue just from IBIT, which is insane. We also have some other news to cover. If you don't mind, hit subscribe so you can see future videos just like this one. If you want to trade crypto, check out the link underneath the video to BYDFi. We're seeing a nice little pullback. I like pullbacks before I open long positions. I don't love to open long positions when we're right at the peak. But if you want to start trading, right, we have had a little 3% pullback. I think this is completely normal, to be clear, during a big move up. I mean, it would actually be nice maybe even to see a red day. That's crazy to say, but we've seen nothing but green recently. So a little bit of red would cool down the market a little bit, because keep in mind, we were just at 109,000 a week and a half ago. Now we're at 123 after the pullback, this 3% pullback. So don't be surprised if we come down a little bit further. I've said we could come down to like 119, because that's where we've seen this multi-cycle trend line. We could flip that into support, but also I wouldn't be surprised if we moved up to all-time highs, because there's insane buying right now. So again, if you want to trade, check out BYDFi. We have about 2 days left on this deposit and trade bonus. We constantly run these. This is one of the reasons I love BYDFi, because they constantly give money back to traders. So check that out underneath the video. As we can see, the traditional market is a bit sideways for the day. It opened up green, now turning a little bit red. Same thing with Bitcoin as well. We were at $125,000 earlier today after the market opened, and now we're down at 123. Why is this happening? Well, there isn't much going on in the traditional world right now. We see some longs getting liquidated in the last hour on crypto. You can see the majority is in Bitcoin, but also some Ethereum, Solana, XRP, etc. So there are some people that are very aggressive that are getting liquidated. But yesterday was an unbelievable day for the Bitcoin ETFs. This could have been one of the reasons that we were seeing Bitcoin hit all-time highs. And I still think we're still in a bull run, right? I think we're going to hit more all-time highs here soon. But we had $1.2 billion flow into the ETFs. The majority of that was IBIT, with $970 million in inflows. Just incredible. This is the second highest inflow day since inception. This $1.2 billion. Ethereum also saw $176 million flow into it. Ethereum was doing pretty well last time I looked. It's right around 4,700. We have other altcoins hitting all-time highs too, which we'll talk about in a bit. But this is just incredible. We continue to see significant inflows. We are very close to IBIT hitting $100 billion. This is yesterday, saying that IBIT was just about $2 billion away. And it's hitting $100 billion four or five times faster than VOO, which is the current record holder. When you look, like, VOO had maybe 5 billion or so at the same time that IBIT's hitting 100 billion. So it's growing 20 times faster. So if we hit all-time highs on Bitcoin again, and we have another big inflow day, we'll hit $100 billion. It's just incredible. Now, why is this such a big deal? Why does BlackRock want so much money to flow in here? Let me show you what Larry Fink recently said. This is actually last year. He hasn't talked about Bitcoin very much recently compared to last year, where he was kind of going around talking about Bitcoin a lot, most likely because of IBIT coming out. But I would be surprised to see him continuously talking about Bitcoin at some point in the near future. But I'll show you what he said about how high Bitcoin can go and what this would mean for their business, along with what it will mean for Bitcoin's price.
I was with a sovereign wealth fund during this week, and that was the conversation. Should we have a 2% allocation? Should we have a 5% allocation? If everybody adopted that conversation, but it would be 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 for Bitcoin.
This would be incredible. I think Bitcoin might actually go up faster than that, because there's so much money in the world and there's more being printed all the time, I think Bitcoin would go above 500,000. But that would make it a pretty large market cap, $10 trillion, which, compared to gold, it's still only 40% of gold at today's gold prices if it hits a $10 trillion market cap. That would put Bitcoin right around $500,000. This would be incredible for BlackRock if this happened. Right now, they're making around $250 million in fees. This is their most profitable ETF. $250 million per year in fees. If it hit, let's say it hit 500,000, that would put it around 1.25 billion a year in fees. If it's $620,000, or just it hits $500,000 and we see like 25% more fees, it'd be around $1.5 billion a year in fees. Now, keep in mind, this would be nearly all profit, right? There are fixed expenses, and maybe they advertise a little bit more if that's the case, but the majority of this would just be pure bottom line, just fantastic margin for them. Now, I took a look at BlackRock's revenue and profitability. They're around $20 billion a year in revenue. Their net income last year was around $6.37 billion. So, they're a pretty profitable business, but this would still add another billion and a half to their bottom line. That would increase their profitability by 15 to 20%. And that's just one ETF. Keep in mind, they have 460 ETFs listed from what I can see. This is just like cursory. I just looked it up real fast. But it says that BlackRock's iShares ETF business accounts for a significant portion of the revenue, representing 42% of their investment advisory revenue in the first half of 2025. The company generated $1.9 billion in base fees from the ETFs that period. So $1.9 billion in base fees in half a year. So let's just say it's $4 billion for the year. If they did another billion or $1.25 billion from IBIT, that would increase their entire ETF business by 25%. 25% from one ETF. That's without any more inflows. Obviously, they would be a big driver if Bitcoin gets, or when Bitcoin gets up to $500,000. I think they're looking at this as the most profitable ETF that they've ever had in the quickest time. And Bitcoin typically does really well and will continue to do well, especially with all these heavyweights behind it. If the US ever buys Bitcoin, it's going to shoot up the price. If another big company buys Bitcoin, it's going to shoot up the price. And then just in general, as more money is being printed, people continue to put it into Bitcoin. We haven't had a crazy period of time where Bitcoin's exploded in price recently, but this could just be monumental for BlackRock and their fees. Of course, there are other companies now trying to get into it. S&P, right? S&P 500, Standard & Poor's, big name in traditional finance, they're launching a new crypto index consisting of 15 cryptocurrencies and 35 crypto-related stocks. Could be interesting if you're just trying to throw money at the entire market, right? Instead of picking out the winners. Gold continues to hit all-time highs too. It's a $27 trillion asset. I remember last cycle when I was looking at it and it was a 12 trillion. It's just crazy how far it's come in such a short period of time. The U.S. government continues to buy more stocks too, more companies. Trilogy Metal stock surges 210% after the U.S. government announces it will be taking a 10% stake in the company. The U.S. government's portfolio is rapidly expanding. I'll show you what they own here in a second, but this is a relatively small company too. I was just looking at it yesterday, $1.5 billion. This is after the 250% pump, and this is in Canadian. So what is that? I don't even know the conversion. $1.2 billion USD. And they're taking a pretty decent stake in it. They've been buying more and more companies recently. 10% equity stake in Intel, 15% equity stake in MP Materials, 10% stake in Lithium Americas, 10% stake in Trilogy Metals. I believe Trilogy Metals is a copper company, but they continue to acquire more. A golden share in U.S. Steel Corporation floated the idea of an equity stake in defense contractors. Interesting. I would not be surprised if they eventually buy Bitcoin, right? Trump campaigned on buying Bitcoin or acquiring Bitcoin, a strategic reserve, right? And he's done some of this stuff, but there was maybe some he made it sound like they would be acquiring more Bitcoin, right? And they haven't done that yet. He never talked about buying these other companies or acquiring equity stakes or anything like that. So I would not be surprised if after buying some of these companies, he also acquires some strategic Bitcoin. Now, of course, some people won't understand it. Some people don't want that. But after they bought 10 different companies, is anyone really going to be paying attention, right, if they buy Bitcoin? I'm sure Bitcoiners will, but other people will just be like, oh, they're just buying more, right? They're buying some Bitcoin. They already bought a bunch of other companies. No big deal. It'll be interesting to see, though, if this actually happens during Trump's presidency. We'll see. We do have altcoins going up to new all-time highs like BNB, over $1,300. It's gone up 30% this week, even with Bitcoin just going up 9%. Ethereum is doing well too, right? It's up. It was up to over $4,700 earlier today. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. If you do want to trade crypto, there's a link underneath the video to BYDeFi. I think that it's a great time to be trading crypto. And especially on these little pullbacks, this is where people don't really want to trade. Like naturally, people are like, oh, a little bit cautious because they don't know how far we're going to fall. But when you use my low leverage strategy or just any low leverage strategy, this is when you want to get in because there's even more cushion, right? If let's say you trade at new all-time highs, there's a pretty decent chance that we'll pull back, especially when we're going into resistance, like where we were going into resistance right here. But when we see this low pullback, okay, you're already 40% of the way down to this next major support line. And if you're looking at 120,000 as a key psychological level, you're already over 50% down to that trend line or to that support line. So if you want to open up some positions, check out BYDeFi. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'll see y'all soon.